believably enough, Nadiv Halev, generous of the heart, equals 103. Nun Daled Yud Bet, Hey Lamed Bet, equals 103. Generous of the heart. If there's any way to describe Auntie, that's generous of the heart. Here it was talking about people who gave gifts to the Mishkan. They gave out of generosity. It was different than the half a shekel that everyone gave the exact same. This was different. This was as their heart moved them to give, and their generosity. So Auntie was generous to so many people, so many causes. Everything came straight from her heart, and she couldn't give enough. She just was a giver. Never a taker, always a giver. And her belief in Hashem, and that whatever was meant to be, was going to happen, was amazing. Her belief was just so outstanding. And then even if we thought, the last couple years she couldn't be a giver because she was taking, but you know what? She was still giving us. She was still giving us her love. She was still giving us her recipe for determination and for perseverance and for acceptance in what Hashem has in store. So thank you to Auntie for everything she taught us throughout all the years.
Very nice. Beautiful. Very nice. So nice.
So we'll
After you
send it to
finish, I have one more thing to
So
say.
say no.
I just want to say one more thing, Nate, that how almost everyone in this room knows, but if anyone doesn't know, we are very, very, very happy that everyone should know that just a few days ago, Nate's daughter-in-law and son had a baby, and her name is Adiel, in memory of Auntie. Adiel means sad, and the Adiel means, when Michael wrote it, he wrote Jewel of God, and I'm like, wow, Auntie was a jewel of God, she should rest in peace, and now this new little girl, she should, Salam Yor, as they say, she should live and be well. She carries on this name, Jewel of God, in memory of Auntie, and even when you see it written in English, Adielle, it looks like Adeline. It looks like Adeline. So we're very grateful for that.
Very good.
They're very nice.
I already called her Auntie.
As long as you don't call her late for dinner. Okay, so I'm going to make a Siyum on Gemara Sanhedrin. It's long, and partially because last year Daf Yomi had Sanhedrin, I was not able to keep up with it, but I had learned most of Sanhedrin in Keren B'Yavna, so there were parts I didn't get, so now, thank God, I was able to get them. So just some ideas of relating Sanhedrin to Auntie is, no, it's easier for me to see over here. If that the Gemara Sanhedrin talks about responsibilities of the Sanhedrin Agadol, and what type of cases need what size beis din. Some things only need 3 judges, some things might need 5 or 7, capital cases need 23, and then some things are for the Sanhedrin Agadol, they need the great Sanhedrin of 71 judges. For some of the things that need only 3 judges, well, for the anything that needs 23 or 71 judges, there has to be a high level of expertise in all Torah in each of the judges. They have to have a very high level of understanding. For the things that require 3 judges, certain things require a high level of knowledge, what we call mumche, that they're experts and they have permission to judge from either the leader, if it was from the Reish Galusa, or they certainly need smicha that goes back to Moshe Rabbeinu. And some things you don't need, as long as a person accepts this person as a judge, the person is allowed to sit as a judge for that situation. So even though, but there are things that everyone judges. We know in Pirkei Avos, we say you have to dan l'kav schos. You have to judge people favorably. So, there's been in the past few years, or even maybe 15 years already, Daniel Kahneman, who won the Nobel Prize in economics for how people make decisions and things are being framed. So people hear something or see someone and they make a judgment on that, even though they're not choosing to make a decision, they make a decision. So Auntie was someone who was able to judge everyone favorably. So that's not what Gemara Sanhedrin is about, but it's something that we have to realize that we do make judgments, and when we do make judgments, we have to think of it in a positive and an accurate manner. Another thing, and this is more from Pirkei Avos than from the Gemara Sanhedrin, but the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, Mishnah in Pirkei Avos is whenever people are learning, whether it's in a group or even a person learning alone, the Shekhinah, the divine presence, is with him. And also, whenever Dayanim are judging, they have, the Shekhinah is with them also. And Rabbi Lau, the former chief rabbi, he should live and be well, in his book, he quotes his brother. We have his brother's book also, his brother Naphtali. And most of, I think, the stuff in his book, he was so young, a lot of it he didn't remember, but it's what his brother told him, and it's in more detail in his brother's book. But after they got to Israel in late 1945, a cousin or a friend that they met along the way, I think, brought them to visit Yerushalayim. They were living up north for a brief time. And in Yerushalayim, the Ger Rebbe wanted to meet them because he knew their father. And after the Ger Rebbe met him, his son, who later became the Rebbe, the Beis Yisrael, who at that point didn't know if his family, if his wife and kids had survived the Holocaust or not, took him out, and they were walking. He kept walking back and forth on the street, and the Beis Yisrael, the son of the Ger Rebbe, said to Naphtali Lau, he said, "Did you see the smoke from the chimneys?" And he said, "Yes." And he was walking. He said, "Did you see it?" And he said, "Yes." He said, and then the Beis Yisrael said to him, "Did you see the Ribono Shel Olam next to it?" So, as difficult as it is, we know that unfortunately there were people in that situation that when they saw those bad things, they said, Hashem isn't there. There are some people, and very few, who even in something like that is able to see Hashem. Rabbi Eugene was able to, and it seems the Beis Yisrael, who wasn't there, but he knew that Hashem must have been there. He wanted to know if it was visible. And we've mentioned in the past year, we've been talking a lot, that Auntie, if something bad happens, she says, whatever Hashem wants. That's what she said many times in the last 20 years or 15 years. So the fact that you could see the Shekhinah, certain things when Torah is being taught or when Dayanim are adjudicating a case, it's easy to see that Hashem is there. But it's much more difficult to recognize that Hashem is somewhere when it's a difficult situation. But Auntie was someone who accepted things and she said, whatever Hashem wants. So the last chapter of Sanhedrin is very interesting, very unique, and it talks about, the topic is that all Jews have a portion in the world to come, in Olam Haba, and then there's lists certain exceptions, certain people who were such great sinners they didn't have. It lists a few kings by name, it lists a couple individuals by name, and then it just talks about categories of people who could lose their Olam Haba. So before I make the Siyum, just one topic from the last chapter here is that it talks about Mashiach. And one of the things the Gemara says is that Ein Yisrael Nigalim Ela B'Tshuva, that we won't be redeemed with Hashem won't send Mashiach unless Bnei Yisrael does Tshuva. And Rav Yashaber Soloveitchik asked that, the Rambam, we all know the Rambam has the 13 principles of Emunah. He actually writes them as an introduction on his commentary to the Mishnah on this parak. But when he talks about Olam Haba, he talks about the things that a Jew has to believe in. So Rav Yashaber asked, how could we believe in Mashiach on one hand, that we say, Ani Mami B'Emunah Shlema B'Vias HaMashiach, I believe that the Mashiach is going to come. But on the other hand, the Gemara says, Ein Yisrael Nigalim Ela B'Tshuva. We're only going to be redeemed if we have Tshuva. Well, if we do Tshuva, maybe Mashiach isn't going to come. how could we reconcile those two ideas? So Rav Yashabir answered that we have to believe in that Bnei Yisrael will do tshuva and therefore Mashiach will come. So Auntie again was someone who saw the positive in everyone. For someone like her, she would have faith in every Jew and belief in every Jew that they would do tshuva. And it's through that belief we need people not just, if more people would believe it and other people would sense that belief that other has, more people will do tshuva, and then Mir Tashem Mashiach will be able to come. So at the very end, the Gemara is talking about the Erni Dacha. So it's a city where at least two men had to come and missionize the inhabitants of the city to worship Avodah Zarah. And there's a machlokas if the people of Anshe of such a city have a share in the world to come. It's a machlokas between Rabbi Kiva and I think Rabbi Lazar. So at the very end, the Gemara says, so the Mishnah said, V'lo yidbak biyadchem u'uma menachem kol zman so besides for everyone having to be killed, all their possessions had to be destroyed. So kol zman she'Hashem ba'olam charanaf ba'olam. So the Mishnah ended up that whenever there is evil or evildoers in the world, whenever there is Rishaim in the world, there's anger in the world, but when the Rishaim get destroyed, Hashem's anger is removed from the world. So on that last phrase of the Mishnah, so the Gemara says, Man Rishaim. So who are the Rishaim that it's talking about? Amar of Yosef Ganvi. Rav Yosef says people who steal. Tanar Bana, we learned in the Brayso, Rasha Bala Olam, Charan Bala Olam. When an evil person comes to the world, anger comes to the world, meaning Hashem gets angry. Shnemer Bava Rasha Ba Gambuz Va'am Kalan Cherpa. When an evil person comes, also booze, making fun of things, and shamelessness, and disgrace. But Rasha Avad Mina Olam, when Rasha is destroyed from the world, Tova Bala Olam, good comes to the world. Shnemer Uvavoder Shem Rina. When there's the destruction of the evil, then there is joy. Tzaddik Nifter Mina Olam, but when a tzaddik departs the world, Rabal Olam, bad comes to the world. Shnemer HaTzaddik Avad Ve'ein Ish Sam Alev. The tzaddik has been destroyed or is left. There is no one who takes things, pays attention to things. V'Ajay Chesed Asafim Be'ein Mavin. And men of kindness are gathered in, meaning they die, and people don't understand. Because of the bad, that's why the tzaddik is died. So one way to explain this is, according to Midrashim, for example, that Avram Avinu was supposed to live a little bit longer, but his life was cut short by 5 years or whatever, so he wouldn't see Esav go and start terrorizing everyone. So because Esav, who had a free will, decided to do these bad things, and it would cause Avraham pain, so he died at that time. Tzaddik Bala Olam, when a righteous person comes to the world, Tova Bala Olam, good things come to the world. Shnemer, as the Pasuk said, Zayin Achamenu Ma'aseinu Meitzvon Yadenu. When Noach was born, they said, this will comfort us from our deeds and from the sadness of our hands. So when the tzaddik was born, it was already a good thing, and we learned that the pasuk that the Gemara learns it out is from the birth of Noah. Hajjan lach Maseches Sanhedrin v'Hajjan Chalan. Daitan alach Maseches Sanhedrin v'Daita Chalan. Lo nisi sheminach Maseches Sanhedrin lo sisi sheminan lo ba'ama adein v'lo ba'ama da'asi. Hajjan alach Maseches Sanhedrin v'Hajjan Chalan. Daita Chalan Maseches Sanhedrin v'Daita Chalan. Lo nisi sheminach Maseches Sanhedrin lo sisi sheminan lo ba'ama adein v'lo ba'ama da'asi. Hajjan alach Maseches Sanhedrin v'Hajjan Chalan. Daita Chalan Maseches Sanhedrin v'Daita Chalan. Lo nisi sheminach Maseches Sanhedrin lo sisi sheminan lo ba'ama adein v'lo ba'ama da'asi. Yihratzon lofanecha Adonai Eloheinu v'avosenu shetehei Torahs cha'um v'nosenu b'al mazeh u'seimenu l'olam haba. Chanina bar Papa, Rami bar Papa, Nachman bar Papa, Achlai bar Papa, Abamari bar Papa, Rafim bar Papa, Rachish bar Papa, Sorcha bar Papa, Ada bar Papa, Daru bar Papa. Harab na Adonai Eloheinu es Beis Roshcha Befinu B'Fiyasam Chabeis Yisrael B'Niyah Nachnu V'Tetzeinu V'Tetzei Tzatzeinu V'Tetzeim Chabeis Yisrael Kulun Yodei Shemacha V'Lamdei Shosach Lishma Me'oivei T'chakamenu Mitzosacha Ki Leilam Hili Libi Samim Chukacha Man Leivosh Leilam Lashkach Yugadecha Kivam Chisani Brachat Adonai Eloheinu Chukacha Amen 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 Salavoed מודים אנחנו לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ואבותינו ששמת חלקנו מיושבי בית המדרש ושמת חלקנו מיושבי קרנו שאנו משכימים והם משכימים אנו משכימים לדברי תורה והם משכימים לדברים בטלים אנו עמלים והם עמלים אנו עמלים ומקבלים שכר והם עמלים והם מקבלים שכר אנו רצים והם רצים אנו רצים חיילים הבא והם רצים לרשחס שנאמר ואתה אלוהים תרדים לרשחס אנשי דמים ומרמה ליחצו ימיהם וניח תחבח ירצון לפניך אדוני אלוהי כשם שעזרתני לסיים מסך זנהג'ן פין תעזרני להשכיל מסכתות וספרים אחרים ולסיימם ללמוד ולמד לשמר ולעשות ולחם את דברי סמת תרסך ביעבה וזכות כל התנאים והמורם וסלמידי חכמים יעמדי ולזרי שלא תמו שתר מפי ומפי זרי וזרע זרי עד עולם וסיסקאים בי בהיסלחך תנך וסך בשחך תשמר לך והכיתוס ההיא שיחך קיבור יקיבי ירבו ימיך ויוסיפו לך שנוסחיים אורך ימים בימינה בשמאלה או שבע כבוד אדוני עוזר מיתן אדוני ברצמו בשלום Kirash Shmir Ba Yimahu Dasi Lis Chadata Olachai Messiah Lasakal Yotam Chayoma Umivne Karta Shalem Ushafla Nifale Gaba Makarpal Khananu Kramina Rav Vla Asaba Pofar of Dishmai Lasre Liputa Brikaba Sibi Kare Chaykhon Belakon Khair Khabis Israva Glavizan Karib Vim Rame Shmir Ba Mevarach Lomama Yos Barach Shabach Sparbi Shmami Sase Bisarabi Sabi Salosh Men Kuchabri Leila Mikala Kasabi Shasas Kasab Masad Rabbi Mabim Rame Ari Israel Yarabanan Bel Tamidi Hon Bel Kol Tamidi Sabedi Hon Bel Commander Sniverisa Dibas Radin Diva Kala Sarbi Sari Halo No Faklamara Bakina Batista Rachmi Bakina Rikin Uzone Ribite Uberkami Kadama Budi Shmavim Rame Hey Slavami Chamaya Kamalena Kaisabim Rame of Seshlam Bimram of Buya Seshlam Alena Kaisabim Rame
Very nice. Oh, what can I get? I don't know. Okay. I want something. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Do you want me to go with you?